is it that's off? It's this. Oh, damn. Oh, damn. Well, I think I'm live. And I think that I am learning something that I thought I already knew about this screen. Hello, hello, hello. Nancy Annette, my cousin, Lauren Bailey, my goddaughter, my good friend, Melody Thomas. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Lisa, hello. You guys, I have been practicing all day and thought that I had this thing down with how to use YouTube. Yes, I know I'm live. I'm waiting for some more folks to join. I'm so happy. I am just so delighted that you're showing up for this. You know, it's my first one, right? It's my first one. And I'm ready for it. I had another topic in mind, and something kept saying to me, no, Ruth, that's not the topic. That is not the topic. And the topic that I was told that I should do today is how old habits can be obstacles to your joy and your peace. And I said, okay, I'm going to be obedient and I'm going to take that on. And my job has become I've become one of not so much a therapist, counselor anymore, but a guide, a spiritual teacher for sure, and a coach. I embrace those new ways of being, and most of all, I embrace being Miss Ruth. So let me say a little bit about who Miss Ruth is, because a lot of people know I'm using it as my new brand. The people who know Miss Ruth, the persona, are my clients. They're the people who get to meet her, me, Miss Ruth, when I show up and we have our conversations. Miss Ruth is about teaching life lessons, sharing what I have learned over all these years of being a helper, a person who works with human behavior. I like guide. I like spiritual teacher. And I decided to start doing these talks with Miss Ruth, with my friends, my family, my clients, my colleagues, as a way to share Miss Ruth more widely, and also as a way to get more comfortable myself in this Miss Ruth persona. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is I'm going to flip it a bit and say, what's joy and peace? How do we get to it? And why did Ruth decide to talk about joy, getting to my joy and my peace, when she said she was going to talk about my old habits? What I know for sure is that there are moments of joy and peace, confidence, clarity, when we take ownership for the things that we do on a day-to-day basis to care for ourselves, to make the adjustments we need to make so that we have clarity, quiet, and the ability to make those shifts, those changes, those weaves in how we're handling things so that we have moments of joy, moments of peace. Joy and peace don't always come all through every day. There's stress, there's challenges, but we have habits. We have habits that have come to us. They've come to us through the way we were raised, usually. They've come to us as we have adapted to situations that we believe we're most comfortable handling them in that way. Being comfortable can sometimes be a way. The goal of being comfortable can sometimes get us into habits that don't challenge us when we find that the habits have become obstacles. That makes sense? Habits become obstacles, sometimes because we don't want to be uncomfortable. And so tonight, what I decided to do, first of all, let's look at what is a habit. It's something we do regularly. It's something that we do automatically because it's grown. It's grown. And an old habit has a long life of reasons why, when, and how we feel when we're doing it and after we do it. Habits sometimes are ways that we accommodate ourselves and other people. Habits can be avoidance. Habits can be, well, it didn't work when I tried something new last time, and I'm not about to do that again. So, because we do the same thing in the same situation around the same people, we begin to think that that's who we are. I've had a person very close to me say, this is who I am. I'm not going to do it different anymore, ever try to do anything different. I'm not taking on anything new. I hear more of my older friends saying that, I don't need to take on or try anything new. I'm comfortable with what I got right now, how I'm doing it right now. And we respect that and we love it, right? We accept it. The challenge is when somebody you interact with does not give you what you need and forces you to adapt. So, some of what we're going to talk about, I picked three different categories of types of habits that I call low hanging fruit. If anybody on here has been a client of mine, you know that I talk about low hanging fruit as a way to build confidence, try something new and different. Low hanging fruit are those situations, first of all, you don't tell anybody about if you don't want to. Frankly, nobody needs to know you're doing them. Nobody needs to be a part of the conversation because it's something that you created a game for yourself, a game that you're playing, a solitaire game of if I do this, then how do I feel? If I try that, Miss Ruth said I should do this next time. I think I'm going to try it. Or I read, there's a whole lot of stuff you can read, and there's a whole lot of uh, things online about how to handle life situations. So I'm going to talk about low hanging fruit. And I see who's here. I see Tara. I see Michelle. Thanks for coming. I see my sister Cherie. I see people who know me well. I see people here who I respect and who I value. Any feedback you have for me or any comments you'd like to share for me while I talk to you. Talk with Miss Ruth. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. So let me say, give me a smiley face, a heart, something to let me know if I'm going in a direction that makes sense for you. If you have any questions that you'd like for me to share or go into a little bit deeper. Yeah, let's talk. I'm happy to talk, and I'm happy to have dialogue. Ask me your questions. Tell me things you want me to touch on. All right? Great. And thank you for the hearts. Thank you for the smiley faces. Because let me say this as a little aside. I decided that this was the place to launch. This is the place to launch with being Miss Ruth 100% of the time. Because the people here are people who know me, love me, people who are on the journey with me. And thank you. It's helping me to step into Miss Ruth persona. So let's get started. I picked, I'm going to have to look real quick just to make sure. Let's start with the one where you say to yourself and you say to others, I don't understand. I don't get it. You know, there must be more. And often when you say that, it's a habit. It's a habit. When you say, I don't understand over and over about the same thing, it means you are not wanting to understand what's happening. You are avoiding the truth. You're avoiding whatever feelings would come from understanding and the truth. And for many people, those one-liners are habits. When you listen to yourself, when you hear yourself saying, I don't understand, I don't get it, maybe there's more. That's a low-hanging fruit, sister. That's a low-hanging fruit, brother. You do know. You're not ready to accept it. So instead of saying, I don't understand, say, I'm not ready to accept it. That's the tip from Miss Ruth. Just listen to yourself. This is a habit of listening where the person who I've said this to over and over just said, that's definitely a no from Miss Ruth. Show you right. I will cut my clients off in a minute when they say to me, I don't understand 150,000 times, because we can work with that and it's low hanging fruit. Somebody else said my low hanging fruit is why. And yes, it sure is, because people keep saying, well, why? Why did this happen? If I could understand why, then I'll be ready to move on. Well, you're ready to move on now because it happened. Understanding why is another way to avoid. And you notice I said habits that create obstacles to your joy. Moving on means listening to what you say, what you think, what you feel, and how nothing changes when you say it, feel it, or think it. That's the goal, is to look for places. I was learning this technique called thought stopping, because I'd have a habit when I was thinking something over and over and I was embarrassed with how I felt inadequate with how I handled it. I would say, that is stupid, Ruth. That was really stupid, Ruth. And then I'm going to say, hold the spirit, because I listen to spirit a lot. So spirit said, Ruth, you're not stupid. I said, yeah, you're right. I'm not. So we need to stop calling you stupid. I said, so what do I say? Well, let's just say you're not stupid. If you start saying you're not stupid, eventually you'll find another word to replace how you feel. The word that replaced it was, I was uncomfortable with how that went down. See the difference? See the shift? When you create space, when you have found yourself stuck in thinking the thing thought that is unproductive, when you find yourself saying the same thing over and over, the technique is called thought stopping. You say, well, I'm going to stop saying that, but I don't know what I'm going to say to replace it. That's fine to just say, I'm going to stop saying that. I'm not saying that anymore. When you give yourself permission to let go of something that you have found does not serve you, your mind, your soul, your body will replace it with the word. We create more problems by avoiding listening to ourselves and releasing ourselves from uncomfortable feelings and letting ourselves move to the next step. The next step is being comfortable. Sometimes I'll be in the middle of a sentence and I'll say, no, I don't want to say that. Or better, I'll say, that's not the way I want to say that. Until I have a better way to say that, I'm going to stop. Now let's apply that same thing with that person that I spoke about earlier, who is not going to change, tells you they're not going to change. Here's a way to respond to that person when you're attempting to get a point across or getting them to look at something from a different perspective. 2 one-liners. I don't see it the way you see it. I've accepted that. Or I see the way you're looking at that. Period. Period. And then be cool. Let them do them. If it makes you unhappy, if it makes you sad, you could say, it makes me sad, but I accept it. You see the way you're building space for yourself, where you're building the opportunity. You're building the opportunity for those seconds, those moments where you feel okay about how you just handled something, to be what I call peace. I think people think I'm talking about going on a girls' trip to a resort. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those ways you take responsibility for your joy and your peace in the moment, because every moment adds up to another moment, to another moment. And when you're playing in the sandbox with yourself of looking at the low-hanging fruit, nobody knows what you're doing, but you know you're stepping into your peace. All right? Let me give you another example. Let me give you another example. So, there's a whole lot of people who base what they do, how they do it, on what mom and them, dad, pop, grand, and all the rest of them said, and how we do it in our family. Well, mom and them don't work where you work. Mom and them, pop, they made a good, happy life, comfortable life, but they're not around the people you around. I got some people I had to tell, don't talk to your sister about your business and ask for her advice anymore. I tell people sometimes you can say to people, to somebody who's in your business and wanting to know more than you're ready to say, or more likely what people do is they start talking and they overtalk and they give up people information that they don't really need. So another strategy is to say, if you're talking to Miss Ruth and you're my client, or if you're talking to your minister, or you're talking to an advisor, you say, I've decided for now that that's something I'm only going to discuss with Miss So-and-so. For my clients, it's with Miss Ruth. Another low-hanging fruit, but involves your getting out of your comfort zone a bit, is to say, I understand your concern. That's not something that I'm ready to talk about now. I've got a lot more to think about, a lot of things going on in my own mind that I got to get comfortable with before I share any more with you about it. All right? The goal is buying space, and don't feel pressured or responsible for somebody else's comfort. Okay? Does this feel like low-hanging fruit? Does it feel like low-hanging fruit? Somebody said I took my own actions of stupidity. Well, what I'm coaching you to say is I didn't know as much as I needed to know at the time, or I operated out of as much as I knew at the time. Nobody on here is stupid, okay? Let's get that clear. You wouldn't have figured out how to get on YouTube if you were stupid, all right? Nobody on here is stupid. And I'm celebrating that truth with you, okay? So let's look at another one. Because sometimes what Mom and them and Pop told you about how to handle life situations gets you feeling like being humble, showing up and doing the work, And expecting to be recognized is going to move you ahead. One thing, where you develop habits that are not equivalent to your education, your experience, your credentials, and the value you add to the situation. Now, another thing that happens, some of it comes from there's this phrase that's going around called darn, I just lost it. Hot syndrome. Somebody help me. Imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome. I don't believe in it. I think it's a way for people to make other people doubt themselves, question themselves, and step back when they're in situations with people of authority, people who are leaders, people who have high titles. Sari can help me with this. People who are in the room, should be in the room, have a right to be in the room, have something to contribute, and get all befuddled because they're around the chairman, because they're around somebody who got a PhD, because they didn't go to the right university. So they become, they shrink. They shrink into themselves. They shrink into the energy getting small and not expansive in the room. What happens when you do that is you miss the opportunity when it's sitting there right in front of you to make a comment. You miss certain nuances in what is said or not said because you're not listening with acuity and focus. And all of this is because you have a habit of thinking, being humble and waiting for your value to be recognized. That's a habit. And what it does is it obscures your ability in the moment. You've given your power away. You're in the room because you're supposed to be there. How is that low-hanging fruit, Miss Ruth? It's low-hanging fruit because when you catch yourself, number one, saying imposter syndrome, I want you to remember my voice, saying that is not a real thing. I could go all the way in the end of our time talking about why that's not a real thing. But just trust me here. We can talk about it if you want to offline. When you hear yourself, or you go talk to mom and them, pop, and they say, well, son or daughter, you're good. You're good. And you do what they tell you to do, you usually make the worst mistake in your life. So stop telling them about your situations. Find yourself a coach, someone who you have seen who is in the same situations, but they handle themselves differently than you do. And you can trust sharing with them. Now, always call Miss Ruth, schedule a consultation with me. And I love talking to you. But it's low-hanging fruit, my dear. It's low-hanging fruit for you to, first of all, stop talking to the people who are not bringing you anything new. In fact, what they're bringing you comes from another world, another time, and out of their love and their compassion and their desire to help. Begin to identify how you feel in those situations and ask yourself, how do I feel better, show up better, and get better results? And then, who are the people and situations where I am in, where I can ask for some ideas about how to do better, be better, feel better. and be guided by my own truth and my own worth and value. Low-hanging fruit, because there's people around you, all of you that I see on this thread are accomplished individuals who are around other accomplished individuals who know you, like you, and want the best for you. That's your low-hanging fruit right there, my dear. That's your low-hanging fruit. Trust yourself. You don't have to pay a whole lot of money. You don't have to invest in all of the different programs that are out there when you've got resources around you. You've got people who want the best for you. They may direct you to other people. Low-hanging fruit, my dear. That's what I'm asking that you consider for yourself. So now let me go to the next example. So I think we all have someone that we know or we have known who calls with the same story over. What can I do? What should I do? What do you think? What do you suggest? And you tell them. And the next time they call you, they have the same thing. What do you think? What should I do? She did this time. You know, this is going to happen. What should I do? How should I handle this? And you tell them. And they come back and over with the story. And they've done none of what you asked them to do. So let me give you a couple tips on how to handle those situations. You can say, I'm not available right now. I can't talk to you. I'll call you back, or you can call me at 5 o'clock. Just picking a time. At 5 o'clock, you know that in 15 minutes, you got to be out the door to go to a meeting, to go pick up the kids. So you've already limited for yourself how long you're going to be on this call. Or you can say, I'm only going to be available for 10 minutes. So make sure that when we talk, you thought about what you want to get out of our call. The third tip, which is a little more aggressive, but a little more Miss Ruth, is to say, we've talked about this about maybe 50 times. Each time we talk about it, it's the same story. You haven't done one thing that I've asked you to do. So let's take a look at this together. What I suggest is we start talking when you tell me something that you've tried and you want to debrief it with me. Why don't we try that? So I'm going to ask you all, if you have tried this kind of feedback to a friend, let me know. Let me know if you've tried it and what you found works for you. I find that you might be the person who keeps going to someone because you think they are going to, you think that they are going to give you something new. You think that what you ask them, you haven't asked it the right way. You think that maybe you should try it a different way. Maybe the truth is you should stop going to them. You should stop going to them. And what'll happen with all the things that I've just said, all the different low-hanging fruit, If you notice, I'm talking about change management. Those of you that come out of a corporate environment back when they used to do trainings might have sat in a training on change management. That's what we're talking here. We're talking about when it's time to move, something has to change. Something has to change. And these low-hanging fruits, are ways to change that only you know about and you can adapt. Let me give you some other low-hanging fruits. Those were habit examples. I'm going to talk about some other low-hanging fruit for getting comfortable with your uncomfortable feelings. I've got a lot of clients, men and women, who do not go out to eat alone because they'll feel odd and uncomfortable. Going out to eat alone, I like food, so I'll go where there's good food. I'll go by myself any day, any time, any week, any distance. But many people aren't like that. Going to a restaurant, going to a play, going out to hear music alone, first of all, introduces you to yourself. It also, people think somebody looking at you. Nobody's looking at you or watching you. People are there for whatever reason they're there. If they're there alone, they're happy to see somebody else there alone because it makes them more comfortable doing them. Thirdly, people don't care that much about things beyond themselves. If there are people who are looking at you in a critical way, look the other way, my dear, because the reason you are there is to feel better and grow that comfort zone in yourself. That place where you're centered, where you're taking a risk and you realize it's not a risk at all. It's just something new. So here's another one. Here's another easy one. Try saying hello and smiling at someone who you pass all the time and you've never said a word to them. Maybe they don't give you eye contact either, but it's practice. It's practice for what I call showing yourself friendly. Show yourself friendly. A smile on your face usually brings a smile to someone else's face. A smile uses muscles in your face that relaxes you and gives you that feeling of peace. Low-hanging fruit, my dear. Places where good feelings rest. The more you show yourself friendly, the more you say hello to strangers, which is very Southern. I do it a lot of places. I do it just to play. I do it at the grocery store. I do it at the pharmacy. I do it a lot of places because it's fun. It's fun. I like to smile. And I like to take risk. Taking risk is kind of fun if you realize that there's no consequences. So just do it. I think that I'm going to slow down. We have just a few more seconds. I'd like to hear from you what you might like for me to talk about next time I do another live and another talk with Miss Ruth. And please share this with others. Please click on the like and subscribe. Thank you. Somebody said risk worthy. Somebody said, you definitely showed me how to date myself. All right. Anybody else? Somebody said, I tried number 1 and number 3 with a friend and with my mother. It was over empowering after finding the courage. That's it. That's it. That is it. Well, folks, I am at 40 minutes. I want to say thank you. Thank you. And in these times we live in, to quote Reverend Jesse Jackson, let's keep hope alive. Let's keep hope alive. And so it is.